At minus 20 degrees Celsius, a commercial freezer can kill an adult in just a few hours. My own son, Austin, locked me inside, watching through the small window as I pounded on the door, his face devoid of any emotion, any hesitation, just cold, calculated intent. He wanted me dead, and he wanted my $5.4 million company. But what Austin, with his Harvard MBA and his sense of entitlement, didn't know about his old man was that sometimes, in a game of chess, the king plays dead to deliver the final checkmate. This story, my friends, has more twists and turns than a mountain highway in a blizzard. I survived that freezer. I pretended the extreme cold had scrambled my brain, leaving me confused and vulnerable. And for 3 agonizing weeks, I gathered evidence while my brilliant, conniving son confessed to crimes that would utterly destroy him. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with everything, this story is for you. Hit subscribe, because family betrayal gets complicated fast, and you won't believe how this ends. My name is Russell Caldwell, and I built Caldwell Transport Systems from nothing. 35 years ago, I was driving long-haul routes in a beat-up Peterbilt, with nothing but a dream. Today, we operate 45 refrigerated trucks across 3 states, moving everything from frozen foods to pharmaceuticals. Our cold storage facility spans 50,000 square feet, keeping products at precisely controlled temperatures. The business is worth $5.4 million, every penny earned through honest work, long nights, and keeping my word to customers. Austin, my 34-year-old son, never understood that. He graduated Harvard Business School with an MBA and enough entitlement to choke a horse. While I was building this company mile by mile, Austin was learning theories about leveraging other people's money and maximizing shareholder value. He joined the company as VP of Operations 3 years ago after his 3rd startup failed spectacularly. That Friday afternoon, December 15th, Austin asked me to check something in our main freezer unit. Nothing unusual. We inspect the cold storage weekly to ensure temperature consistency. The unit maintains minus 20 degrees Celsius, cold enough to preserve product quality, and cold enough to kill someone in a few hours. At exactly 4:15 p.m., I stepped inside to examine a shipment of frozen seafood destined for a restaurant chain. The heavy door clicked behind me. I turned to see Austin through the small window, his hand on the external lock. Our eyes met. His face showed no emotion, no hesitation, just cold calculation. "Austin," I shouted, pounding on the insulated door. "What the hell are you doing?" He leaned close to the window. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said, his voice chillingly calm, "but you're never going to sign those papers willingly." The lock engaged with a metallic snap. My breath began forming clouds in the frigid air. The walls, designed to keep cold in and heat out, became my prison. Austin walked away without looking back. I had maybe 4 hours before hypothermia would shut down my organs. 4 hours to figure out why my own son wanted me dead. 4 hours to survive what felt like a betrayal worse than any business deal gone wrong. The cold bit through my jacket within minutes. I started moving to maintain circulation, drawing on survival training from my Army days before I became a trucker. Keep moving, stay alert, don't panic. But as the temperature started affecting my thinking, one thought remained crystal clear. Austin didn't just want me incapacitated, he wanted me gone permanently. And I knew exactly what Austin was after. Let me tell you about the son I raised and the business I built, because understanding both explains why Austin thought murder was his best option. After my discharge from the Army in 1987, I bought my first truck with a veteran's loan. Martha, my wife of 28 years, supported every crazy decision. The second mortgage to buy more equipment, the sleepless nights when I drove routes myself to save money, the years when we ate peanut butter sandwiches so the business could grow. Austin was born in 1990, when the company was barely profitable. He grew up watching me work 18-hour days, but somehow concluded that business success meant delegating everything while you played golf. Harvard Business School reinforced his belief that smart people make money move while dumb people move freight. Martha died 2 years ago from cancer. Watching her fight for 8 months changed me. Life's too short for regrets, but it's also too precious to waste on people who don't respect what you've built. After her funeral, I made changes to protect what mattered most. See, Austin always assumed he'd inherit everything automatically. We never discussed it directly, but he acted like the company was already his. He'd make comments about modernizing operations and exploring strategic partnerships, business school code for gutting a profitable company to maximize short-term returns. What Austin didn't know was that Martha's death prompted me to do some serious estate planning. I consulted with lawyers about asset protection trusts and employee ownership structures, not because I planned to die soon, but because I wanted to ensure the company would survive even if something happened to me. Our head dispatcher, Diane Fletcher, has worked here 18 years. She knows every driver, every route, every customer preference. Diane represents the kind of loyalty that built this business. People who show up regardless of weather, who solve problems instead of creating them, who understand that reputation takes decades to build and minutes to destroy. In recent months, I'd been feeling clumsy, bruising easily, nearly fell down the office stairs twice. At 66, I figured age was catching up. My doctor, Dr. Martinez, suggested regular checkups to monitor blood pressure and circulation. But there's something else Austin didn't know about me. Something that would save my life in that freezer, and ultimately destroy his. After Martha died, I installed a comprehensive security system throughout the facility, not just for theft prevention, though that was the official reason I gave Austin. I wanted to monitor everything to understand who was truly loyal and who might be taking advantage of a grieving widower. The cameras recorded continuously, storing footage on encrypted servers. Austin had been acting strange lately. Frequent bathroom breaks, unusual energy, followed by periods of exhaustion. Staying late with our CFO, Monica Sterling, supposedly reviewing financial projections. Phone calls he'd take outside, claiming they were personal. Monica joined the company 14 months ago, with impressive credentials and references. Austin recommended her hiring, praising her experience with corporate restructuring and strategic partnerships. She was attractive, professional, and always eager to work late on special projects. I'm not naive. A 34-year-old son and a 31-year-old CFO working late together could mean many things. But in a family business worth millions, personal relationships and financial decisions get complicated quickly. 3 weeks before Austin locked me in the freezer, I received an interesting phone call. A representative from Mega Freight Corporation wanted to discuss acquiring Caldwell Transport Systems. They offered $7.2 million, significantly above market value for a company our size. When I mentioned this to Austin, his reaction was immediate and intense. "Dad," he exclaimed, "this is exactly the opportunity we've been waiting for. Mega Freight is a major player. They could scale our operations nationally." I asked Austin how Mega Freight had gotten our financial information. He claimed they'd done their research, identified us as a strong regional player worth acquiring, but something felt wrong. Mega Freight insisted on all-cash transactions, no due diligence period, and a quick closing. They even offered a substantial bonus if I signed within 30 days. It all felt too good to be true, and usually, when something feels too good to be true, it is. The cold in that freezer was excruciating, but the betrayal was worse. As my body temperature dropped, my mind raced. Austin wanted me to sign papers he knew I'd never sign willingly. The Mega Freight deal. He wanted to sell my company out from under me. But why resort to murder? Why not just wait for me to die naturally? The answer hit me like a blast of Arctic air. He couldn't wait. He needed the money now. Austin had a gambling problem, a secret I'd suspected for years but never confronted him about. He also had a taste for expensive things and a habit of living far beyond his means. He must have accumulated massive debts he planned to pay off with the sale of Caldwell Transport. But there was another piece to the puzzle. The strange symptoms I'd been experiencing. The clumsiness, the bruising, the near falls. They weren't just signs of aging. Dr. Martinez had been running tests. The results were due back that very week. What if Austin knew something about my health that I didn't? What if he was accelerating my demise? The thought sent a fresh wave of terror through me, colder than the air around me. I huddled against a stack of insulated containers, trying to conserve what little body heat I had left. My fingers and toes were numb, my breathing shallow. I knew I couldn't last much longer. Then, a flicker of hope. the emergency release. Every freezer unit has one, a glowing button on the inside that opens the door. But this unit was old, and the button was notoriously unreliable. I stumbled towards it, my vision blurring, my body shaking uncontrollably. I pressed it. Nothing. I pressed it again, harder. Still nothing. Despair began to set in. Was this how it ended? Killed by my own son, in the very heart of the business I built for him? Just as I was about to give up, I remembered something else about the security system. It had a manual override, a small red lever hidden behind a panel near the emergency release. It was meant for maintenance, a last resort. With what felt like my last ounce of strength, I fumbled for the panel, my frozen fingers barely able to grasp the latch. I pulled the lever. A faint click echoed through the frigid air. The heavy door groaned open a crack. Freedom. I stumbled out into the dimly lit corridor, gasping for air, my body screaming in protest. I collapsed, shivering uncontrollably. My head dispatcher, Diane Fletcher, found me minutes later, bundled me into her car, and drove me straight to the emergency room. Dr. Martinez was there, his face grim. "Mr. Caldwell," he said, "you're lucky to be alive. Severe hypothermia, and we have the results of your blood tests. You've been poisoned. Warfarin, a slow-acting anticoagulant. Someone has been trying to kill you for months." Warfarin. That explained the clumsiness, the bruising. Austin. It had to be him. He'd been slowly poisoning me, hoping it would look like a natural death, then locked me in the freezer when I didn't die fast enough. The pieces of his monstrous plan clicked into place. I spent the next 48 hours in the hospital, recovering physically, but my mind was sharper than ever. I knew I couldn't confront Austin directly. He was too cunning, too ruthless. I needed proof, undeniable evidence. I needed to play dead. When Austin visited me in the hospital, I feigned confusion, memory loss, and a general disorientation from the hypothermia. "Austin," I mumbled, "what happened? My head feels so foggy. I can't remember anything after that cold room." His eyes, normally so calculating, softened with a predatory gleam. He thought he'd won. He thought I was a broken old man, easily manipulated. "Dad," he said, patting my hand, "you had an accident, a fall. Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. The company, the mega freight deal. Just focus on getting better." Over the next 3 weeks, I continued my act. I pretended to struggle with basic tasks, to forget important details about the business. Austin, believing he had me exactly where he wanted me, began to confide in me, to explain the intricacies of the mega freight deal, the necessity of selling the company, and the brilliance of Monica Sterling's financial strategies. He even mentioned some consulting fees paid to obscure firms, Alpine Advisory Services and Summit Strategic Solutions, which Diane, my loyal dispatcher, had never heard of. These were the shell companies Austin and Monica were using to siphon money from Caldwell Transport. I contacted Detective Torres, a no-nonsense officer I'd known for years. "Detective," I said, "my son tried to murder me. I need advice about gathering evidence that will hold up in court." "Mr. Caldwell," he replied, "those are serious accusations. Are you willing to wear a wire?" Monday morning, I would discover just how far Austin was willing to go to steal my company. But this time, every word would be recorded by the FBI, and my Harvard-educated son was about to confess to crimes that would put him in federal prison for 25 years. Detective Torres met me Saturday morning at a restaurant 30 miles from town, where Austin wouldn't accidentally see us together. With him was FBI agent Sarah Chen, a specialist in white-collar crime and wire operations. "Mr. Caldwell, your situation involves multiple federal crimes: embezzlement, money laundering through offshore accounts, elder abuse, and potentially attempted murder. We need to document Austin's crimes carefully to ensure convictions." Agent Chen explained the wire procedure. I'd wear a recording device during my next meeting with Austin, hoping to get him to confess details about the embezzlement, his relationship with Monica Sterling, and ideally, something about the freezer incident. "The key is making Austin feel safe," Detective Torres advised. "He believes you're confused and manageable. Let him think he's controlling the conversation while you guide him toward admissions." Sunday afternoon, Austin arrived for his regular visit. I was wearing the FBI wire, which looked like a hearing aid device attached to my collar. Austin noticed it immediately. "Dad, what's that thing you're wearing?" "Oh, this," I said, affecting a slight tremor in my voice. "Dr. Martinez recommended it. The hypothermia affected my hearing somehow. I have trouble following conversations without it." Perfect cover. Austin relaxed immediately, assuming my hearing aid was medical equipment rather than recording equipment. "Actually, Austin, I'm glad you're here. I've been trying to remember exactly what happened that Friday. The doctors say reviewing details might help my memory recover." "Dad, you don't need to worry about that. You had an accident, but you're fine now. Let's focus on moving forward with the business decisions we discussed." "But I can't remember our discussions. Could you remind me about Mega Freight? Why are we selling the company?" Austin sat forward, seeing an opportunity to manipulate his confused father into cooperation. "Dad, we've talked about this several times since your accident. The trucking industry is changing rapidly. Companies like ours need to scale up or get left behind. Mega Freight can offer the resources and technology we can't afford independently. $7.2 million seems like a lot of money. It's fair market value for our assets and customer base. Monica's financial analysis shows we're at peak valuation right now. If we wait, we might miss this opportunity. Monica's so smart. How did we find someone with her qualifications willing to work for our little company?" Austin's expression shifted slightly. "Monica came highly recommended. She has experience with corporate restructuring and strategic partnerships. Her expertise is exactly what we needed for growth planning." I could hear the careful phrasing. Austin was avoiding details about how Monica really joined the company. "I trust your judgment about hiring decisions. You and Monica work so well together, staying late all those nights planning our future." "Yes, Monica's very dedicated to the company's success." The FBI wire was recording Austin's careful answers, but I needed him to reveal more about their relationship and financial activities. "Austin, I've been confused about some of our recent expenses. Diane mentioned consulting fees for companies I don't remember hiring. Alpine Advisory Services, Summit Strategic Solutions. Could you remind me what services they provide?" Austin's composure slipped momentarily. "Those are legitimate business consultants, Dad. We've been modernizing operations and needed expert advice on regulatory compliance, route optimization, technology upgrades, standard stuff for companies our size. Of course, I'm sure you made good decisions. It's just that Diane couldn't find records of what services they actually provided. Diane doesn't understand modern business consulting. These firms provide strategic advice and market analysis. Their value isn't always visible in day-to-day operations." Austin was deflecting, but the wire was recording his explanations about phantom consulting firms. I decided to push further. "The Mega Freight deal sounds complicated. Will there be enough money to pay off any debts the company might have?" "What debts are you worried about?" "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there are financial obligations I'm forgetting about. Maybe personal debts that might affect the business." Austin went very still. "Dad, are you asking if I have personal debts?" "I'm not asking anything specific. My memory's been so foggy since the accident. I just want to make sure we handle everything properly. There are no personal debts that would affect the company's sale." That was Austin's first clear lie on the recording. I knew he owed significant money to dangerous people, but he was denying it under FBI surveillance. Good. I worry about protecting what we've built. This company represents 35 years of work. Every employee, every customer relationship, every truck in our fleet represents sacrifice and commitment. I understand that, Dad. That's why the Mega Freight acquisition makes sense. They'll preserve what you built while expanding our capabilities. Austin seemed to be getting more comfortable, which meant it was time for the critical questions. "Austin, can I ask you something that's been bothering me?" "Of course. That Friday when I had the accident, how did you find me?" "I've been trying to remember the sequence of events." Austin hesitated, then spoke, his voice carefully modulated. "I found you, Dad. You must have slipped on some ice near the freezer door. I called for help immediately. But I was inside the freezer, Austin. I remember you looking through the window, and then the door was locked." Austin's eyes darted around the room. "Dad, your memory is playing tricks on you. You were outside. I saw you fall. I tried to help, but you were already unconscious." He was lying. Clumsily, desperately. "Austin," I said, my voice hardening. "I remember you looking at me through that window. I remember you locking that door. And I remember you walking away." His face went pale. "No, Dad, that's not what happened. You're confused." Just then, the front door burst open. Detective Torres and Agent Chen, along with two uniformed officers, entered the living room. "Austin Caldwell," Agent Chen announced, "you're under arrest for embezzlement, money laundering, elder abuse, and attempted murder." Austin's jaw dropped. "What? This is insane. Dad, tell them. Tell them it's a mistake." I removed the hearing aid, holding it up. "It's all on tape, Austin. Every lie, every confession." Austin lunged at me, but the officers quickly restrained him. "You old fool," he screamed. "You'll get nothing. The company is mine. I'm your son, your heir." Agent Chen held up a stack of documents. "These are copies of your father's updated will and trust, Mr. Caldwell. They stipulate that in the event of his incapacitation or death, ownership of Caldwell Transport Systems transfers to an employee-owned cooperative. You were disinherited 2 years ago, after your mother's death, due to your repeated financial misconduct and lack of commitment to the company's values and employee trust. You don't inherit the company. You never inherited the company. Even if you'd successfully murdered me, you would have gotten nothing." Austin's legs buckled. "That's impossible. I'm your only heir. You were my son," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "Now you're just evidence." "Dad, I'm still your family. You have to forgive me." "Austin, I would have given you anything you needed if you'd asked honestly. Instead, you chose to steal, poison, and attempt murder. Some bridges burn themselves." Agent Chen intervened. "Mr. Caldwell, we need to transport the suspects for processing." As Austin was led away in handcuffs, he screamed back at me, "You can't do this. I'm your blood. I'm your legacy." "Austin," I replied, "my legacy is 47 employees who've worked honestly for decades. Loyal people like Diane Fletcher, who protected the company when my own son was robbing it. That's family. That's legacy. This isn't over." "Yes, Austin, it is." The conference room door closed behind the FBI agents and their prisoners. Detective Torres remained to handle final paperwork and evidence collection. "Mr. Caldwell, based on the recorded confessions and Elena Vasquez's financial evidence, Austin and Monica are looking at 25 years minimum in federal prison. The attempted murder charges alone carry life sentences." I sat in the empty conference room, surrounded by the fake documents that would have stolen everything I'd built over 35 years. But I felt something unexpected. Not triumph or revenge, but quiet peace. The old king had delivered checkmate, and my son had finally learned the difference between Harvard Business School theories and real-world consequences. But my story wasn't about destroying Austin. It was about protecting the people who'd earned protection through loyalty, hard work, and integrity. 6 months later, I sat in the renovated office that once displayed family photos of Austin graduating Harvard, Austin joining the company, Austin receiving industry awards he'd never deserved. Now, the walls showed pictures of our drivers, our trucks, our customers, and our community involvement projects. Caldwell Transport Systems operates as an employee-owned cooperative. Diane Fletcher serves as general manager. Elena Vasquez handles our financial oversight. And I work as a consultant, teaching young drivers about safety, customer service, and integrity. Austin was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. Monica Sterling received 18 years. Richardson and Walsh, the fake mega freight executives, got 12 years each for money laundering conspiracy. The stolen money, all $680,000, was recovered from offshore accounts and returned to the company. We used those funds to upgrade our fleet, improve driver benefits, and establish a scholarship program for logistics students who demonstrate both academic excellence and ethical character. I never visited Austin in prison. I never answered his letters. When his court-appointed attorney asked if I'd provide character testimony for sentencing, I declined. Some relationships end completely, and this was one of them. Dr. Pat Martinez confirmed that the warfarin poisoning had been gradually killing me for 6 months. Without medical intervention, I would have died from internal bleeding within weeks of Austin's freezer murder attempt. My son had been patient, methodical, and absolutely committed to patricide. The company's 47 employees now own shares proportional to their years of service and contribution. Several drivers who'd been with us over 20 years became millionaires when we distributed ownership stakes. Loyal employees deserve loyal treatment. I purchased a small ranch outside town where I raise cattle and grow vegetables. At 67, I've learned that meaningful work doesn't require corporate titles or family succession planning. It just requires showing up every day to do something useful for people who appreciate your efforts. Sometimes people ask if I regret being so harsh with Austin. They suggest that family forgiveness might have rehabilitated him, given him a chance to make amends. But love isn't about enabling destructive behavior. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is establish absolute boundaries and let people face the consequences of their choices. Austin chose greed over family, theft over honesty, murder over love. Those choices have prices. If you've ever had to make difficult decisions about family members who've betrayed your trust, share your story in the comments. Sometimes cutting ties completely is the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself. Because real family isn't about blood relations. It's about people who show up, work hard, and protect what matters.